We got 1 minute.
Coming off the top wrong.
Can I start early?
No, no, it's happened.
Council, can I start early?
It's not early
Oh,
anymore.
now it is.
You're late.
Oh, there you go. There, you're the mayor. I'm going to remember that when I want to do something. I'm the mayor. He said I'm the mayor. All right. As the mayor, I'm going to open this meeting of the, good evening and welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Meta City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, my son's 13th birthday.
Hey.
I kept him alive for 13 years, so my wife and I are celebrating. And it is 6:30 exactly. Who would like to do our land recognition today? There you go.
Let's speak up, Lou.
We acknowledge the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though they are nearly invisible, and their story continues to be excluded from history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people as well as the campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition.
Thank you. All right, if everyone would stand for the pledge of, or kneel for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Madam Deputy City Clerk, ready for the roll call?
I am. Councilmember Cece? Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Peterson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Fernandez? Here. And Mayor Fleming?
Here. All right, Council, now it's time to, I'm sorry. Council, now it's time for the agenda modification. Is there anybody who would like to pull any consent items, make any other modifications to the agenda? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
I have a motion by Adam. Second. And a second by Lou. All right, public comment. Government Code Section 50.
If we could take a vote.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm going fast. Sorry. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councilmember Cece? Yes. Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez? Yes. Mayor Fleming?
Yes. Okay. Oh, I'll slow down. Public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item at the time it is, that's not a complete sentence, at the time it is heard. All right, sorry. Do we have any public comment in the room? Oh,
You'll always have a public comment.
The Knicks and the Knacks.
oh, perfect.
Mr. Mayor, you should slow down on the agenda modification, because in the audience back there, it sounds like gender modification.
Oh, thank you.
And I think they're two different things.
A little bit.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff, and members of the both audiences. Tonight's Nick's, I can't even say it right.
See?
Maybe I should go have my martini. Neil's knickknacks for the evening. First, the Knicks. Today is Cuckoo Dancing Week. I even had to Google that item because it was not in my program that I look at. The Dance of the Cuckoos was written by Thomas Marvin Hatley. He wrote this song sometime during the 1930s, and it would go on to become Laurel and Hardy's theme song. Thomas Hatley was also known for writing many other musical clues, including that appeared in Our Gang and the Charlie Chase films. I have no idea who Charlie Chase is. But to celebrate, go on YouTube and watch the Laurel and Hardy films or Our Gang. And I worked for a woman in Southern California. Her sister was the teacher on our gang.
way.
Yeah, small world.
This is,
And this one we all know, cigarettes are hazardous to your health day. Hugs are one of the easiest ways to share love with another person. And there are plenty of them going around on Girl Hug Boy Day. Girls and women initiate the hugs today. Strange. National Milk Day is being observed, and you celebrate by consuming some cow's milk.
nice.
It's National Step in a Puddle and Splash Your Friend Day, and we have the perfect weather for that one.
Lord have mercy.
Today is Secret Pal Day, which is secret.
Jesus.
The Knacks. Hot toddies are celebrated today. They're an alcoholic drink, and this is what she needs, is a nice hot toddy,
Check.
whose ingredients can be easily tweaked, and they have a murky history. They are often drank as nightcaps and a winter favorite, often being drank when it is cold and wet. Some people also believe that it helps cure or suppress flus and colds. Another one for you, Daniela, because I agree with that one.
Thank you.
The first cocktail party was held for 50 guests in St. Louis in 1917, and the house still stands today as the residence of the Archbishop. While while prohibition resulted in a decline in alcohol, also resulted in a dramatic increase in crime as money flowed to the bad guys. Crime rose as high as 500% in some countries. Consequently, government costs soared while tax revenue declined. Calling an illegal bar a speakeasy came from a lady barkeep who would warn her customers, "Speak easy, boys, speak easy," when they became loud enough to attract the police. A greater crime was what it did to the cocktail. Prior to Prohibition, America was enjoying its first golden era of mixology. Once liquor became illegal, rum runners brought it in by boat and watered it down so their blends would ship less and make more. At the same time, gin and vodka replaced rum and whiskey as a cocktail ingredient because they didn't require as much aging and easier to make illegally. In the food world, today is Bittersweet Chocolate Day. Bittersweet chocolate is a sweetened form of dark chocolate and that does not contain milk. It's usually used for baking. Dark chocolate is most popular among men. More than twice as many women than men eat and crave chocolate. The first chocolate bar was produced by Cadbury in England in 1842. And the word chocolate comes from an Aztec word meaning bitter water. Today in the food history, 1977, Ruth Graves Wakefield died. She was the inventor of the Toll House, she was the inventor of the Toll House cookie. The first chocolate chip cookie was at the Toll House Inn in the 1930s. 1874, Gail Borden died. Borden was the inventor of the process of making condensed milk and founder of the New York Condensed Milk later to become Borden Company. The first recorded snowfall in LA was 1949. In 1963, the Whiskey A Go-Go opened in LA, the first disco in the US. In 1984, Wendy's Where's the Beef ad campaign began. Burgers weren't for kids anymore. I had my first Wendy's about two weeks ago.
Wow, welcome.
And I've had McDonald's twice. And my favorite fast food spot is In-N-Out Burger. I wish we had one up here. And thank you for listening. And good night.
Thank you, Neil.
Right.
They're opening up, In-N-Out is now moving east to Tennessee. That's the farthest east they've gone.
I want them to come further north. Or west, or wherever we are anyway.
Neil, I would like to see your sources on men consume more dark chocolate than women. I'm
It's right here.
curious.
I'll send
Okay,
that. I'll
well-
send that to you.
Thank you for your public comment, and Mr. Clerk. And then, do we have anybody in cyberspace that wants to tell
Actually,
us
have a
things?
couple. If you would like to speak on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand, lower right-hand corner. We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Nobody has asked to pull anything, so all items on the consent agenda, listed under the consent agenda, are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, we got a first by Councilmember Peterson and a second by Councilmember CC. Yes. It's been a year. All right. Yeah, we're voting. So-
Okay.
So,
Councilmember CC?
oh, you're telling me. I say,
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
And Mayor Fleming?
yes. All right, now we're on to our public hearing, item 10. Wow, that's a lot. So,
If you would like, Mr. Mayor, you don't have to read it. We'll cover it in the staff report and read it into the record at the end.
I was going to try.
It's up to you.
So we have item 10, which we're going to cover as the nice city manager. Yeah. Well, this will take me an hour to read. So moving right along, we're going to jump right into our city manager, who's going to talk to us about this, all the public hearings relating to fees and,
Okay.
Great. So, we always want to be transparent with all of our taxes, fees, and everything else that we charge the community, make sure that they're fair and relevant and adopted by the council. And that's why in this year's budget, we proposed and you adopted a master fee schedule for the city. It has been revised several times since then for things like film permits and outdoor parklet encroachment permits, and even the scattering of cremated human remains. But our municipal code largely holds that fees charged by the city are to be adopted by resolution of the council. But we have 4 sections of the municipal code that specifically list the fees within the municipal code, so they're physically typed into the law, and therefore can't be changed without revising the law through an ordinance process instead of through resolution. Several of those are, in fact, all 4 of these are more than 40 years old, so we haven't put any escalators on those. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. But the 4 that we're looking at tonight are Chapter 10.25, which is the fines for vehicle code violations. Chapter 13.04, which is the fees for water connections within the city. Chapter 13.08, which is the same fees but for sewer connections instead of water connections. And then Chapter 17.40, which contains fees for the application for a ground level office within the general business district of the city. Strangely enough, we have, not strangely, but we have regulations that say in order to have a office on the first floor in the general business district right here in the historic downtown, you have to get a conditional use permit. And it says specifically that that will be $200. Any other conditional use permit in the city is $2,000 since it has to go through the planning commission and a whole bunch of staff time. So the adoption of the ordinance before you will amend each of the chapters to essentially reflect that the fees will be set by resolution of the council. The resolution before you would adopt a new citywide master fee schedule. The changes would be effective February 25th, 2023, the same time as the ordinance would be effective. So these fees won't go into effect immediately. And we're only asking for one change, even though we're saying that these 4 areas could be changed by resolution of the council. There's only one of them that we're going to change in the master fee schedule, and that is what's referred to as the bail schedule, or the fees for parking violations. The others will leave, we'll reevaluate, we'll bring them to you in the budget process, and likely ask you to change them then, but have a a comprehensive assessment of why they should change. So with regard to the parking violations, the police chief's done an analysis of the surrounding areas. We are the lowest by quite a bit of not our competitors. We certainly don't want to make any money on parking violations. We'd rather people park legally and feed the meters where appropriate. But we currently charge for almost all of our parking violations $38. And so for those people that come from the Bay Area, especially San Francisco, it's cheaper to pay the ticket than it is to pay the meter where they come from. So there's not much incentive to follow the rules sometimes. But of that, $12 goes to the county. So we write a check to the county for $12 for every ticket that we write, and they disperse it amongst themselves in the state. There's a whole bunch of 5-cent to $1 fees that have come across the state legislature over time that redistribute that money. And then we pay about $1 to our data ticket to do the processing and collection of the fees. It's actually it's less than that, but it's right around $1. If a ticket goes delinquent, then the data ticket charges us 33% of the total value of the ticket, because now they're collecting a delinquent charge, which is why you'll see in the bail schedule there's an initial fee, and then if it's delinquent, and then the final one if it has to have a DMV fee attached to it. So what we're proposing this evening is very simple. It's essentially a $50 fee across the board with one giant exception, which is the handicap parking violation. So that one jumps up by a commensurate amount, but it's set by California law at a minimum threshold that we can't go below. And then you'll see that because of that 33% charge that data ticket puts in there, that if it's delinquent, those $50 ones become $75. The city would actually still get the same amount of money if they let it go delinquent. The people just pay more. So it's always best, anybody watching at home, if you get a parking ticket, pay it before it goes delinquent. But with that, that's the only change that we're asking for among these 4 items. So even though it's a really long title and we're doing a lot of cleanup here, it's a pretty short action. But I would recommend that you take any public comment, deliberate as the council, and then we'd request that a motion and a second and a roll call to hold the first reading, waive reading of the ordinance, read by title only. We'll schedule a second reading January 25th, and then a separate motion after you vote and roll call to adopt the fee resolution. So 2 different actions before you this evening, because you can choose to adopt the ordinance and not the fee schedule. If you choose to not adopt the ordinance, then you don't have to worry about the fee schedule, because it's only applicable if you adopt the ordinance. And that is all I have on this item, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Can we check is there any public comment in the room on this item? Not seeing any. Let's check in YouTube land.
If you would like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand, lower right-hand corner. We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, come on up.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Didn't see you over there.
Yeah.
I just made a decision. Gregory Thompson, good evening, resident here in Nevada City. On the issue of these parking fees and all that, for those residents that live inside the 16-acre historic district, because there's limited parking and some of it's not all metered, so there's different time. I've seen different time parameters and also different days where they're exempt, whether it's a holiday or a Sunday or whatever. So it gets confusing unless you pay attention to the signs. But if there could be some kind of resident fee that maybe we pay an annual fee and get a sticker in our window or something where we could park in one of those spots more than the daytime allotted times or whatever. Not more than maybe 48 hours, so that we don't have to run around and play, musical chairs with the parking spots. And what made me think of this is during, I guess, when the COVID hit, you guys, or the city, allowed these restaurants to occupy parking spots instead of meter them, right? So I don't know how big the revenue is for our metered parking or whatever, but I'm sure if there's 150 people that live inside the 16-acre, downtown that need parking for their car, I bet you they would willing to pay an annual fee for a sticker or something to give us a little more grace time on these parking parameters.
Can I ask you, are you talking about residential, like in front of your house, or you're talking about in front of businesses, or just general?
Inside the 16-acre district, because I know up like on Spring Street up here, there's nothing. It's like a residential parking out in front of your house,
Sure.
basically. It might be marked as a spot, but there's no metering. But you know, people rent above some of these storefronts, their apartments and stuff, and it is a cool location to live and all that, but, and I also thought about it from living in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills and everything. Same thing happens there. Those apartments don't have parking, you know, they didn't think about it back then. And people are parking on the street, and then they got the street sweepers that come on certain days. But the city does play ball with the residents to give them a sticker so they don't get Tim Brown, the meter man, coming around, you know? So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else? Nobody in cyberspace?
We do actually.
Okay.
Raise your hand. Go ahead and speak on Zoom, please.
Hi, guys. Matthew Coulter.
Hi,
I just
Matthew.
wanted to, hi. I just wanted to mention that the delivery trucks cause basically pedestrian hazards because they block a lot of the visual on Broad Street. And one of the problems for that is people park where the delivery trucks are supposed to park. It seems like the painted curbs are no longer heated by motorists. And even double parking is a thing now that didn't used to be a few years ago. I mean, people will literally put their flashers on and leave their cars in the street. So it'd be great to focus on maybe getting those spots open up for the delivery trucks, which then would kind of domino effect and keep the streets open and flowing a little bit better. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks.
Matthew. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's bring it to the table. Anybody have a burning desire? I'm just going to go around. Lou?
I just have a question. The ground level office permit, how many of those do we have?
How many existing do we have?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's not a large amount. Yeah, but it just stands out. It has been an issue that our city planner has brought up, not because it's a problem. It's a conditional use permit, so it's a discretionary act of the city to allow it or to not allow it. But you know, where we're charging other people $2,000 for a conditional use permit, and we do the same process for those folks at $200. It's great for those folks, but it's an imbalance of what we're charging based on the work there. What we haven't done is the legwork that will be done before we would make this change, because otherwise I'd recommend you make the change tonight, is should that one follow a full conditional use permit like we would require for outdoor dining or something like that on private property, or should it be a lesser fee because it's a less complex action of the Planning Commission? And so we'd look to bring that back to you, with an appropriate fee at a future time.
That was the only one that raised a question in my head.
Yeah, it was done as a deterrent to people just buying the buildings and putting their offices on the first floor, eliminating restaurant and retail opportunities in the historic downtown. And it's been that way for quite a while.
You ready, Gary?
What's Grass Valley charge for the bail? Yeah, either one. Yeah.
Grass Valley is 55, they just upped it, so 50 would put us still at the lower end, definitely no higher than anybody in this area. And the further west you go, the
Higher it
more
gets.
it increases very rapidly.
Thank you.
Is that all your comment?
Well, I did want to comment, it's extremely low by most any standards in any kind of urban area, not that we're urban, and I'm not advocating. I like that we're less, I like always with fees to be somewhere in the middle, not the high or the low. So I think that the raise I certainly think the raise is warranted, and I think in terms of the other comments that we're hearing about parking, we do have the parking study that's coming back, and we'll be taking up a whole number of issues around this. But I thank you, Chief. So I wanted to know, I think that's a completely, well, it's an unreasonable fee because it's so low, but it's reasonable for us because it matches our neighbors. So thank you.
Thanks. Danielle?
Yeah, I don't know that I agree that it's unreasonably low for us. Just in terms of, I mean, it makes sense that we're lower than Grass Valley in terms of population. We're a lot smaller than them. So I don't know that it's unreasonably low. Can you say a little bit more about the 12? I mean, it is low, let's be clear. I don't know that it's unreasonably low for our size. Can you say a little bit more about the $12 that goes to the county? Where did that number come from, and why that much?
So there's a series of state laws that have been passed in various increments over the last 50 years that essentially say, this 5 cents will come out of a ticket, and then another year this dollar, and then another year 25 cents. And when you put that in aggregate together, the counties are responsible for collecting that from all jurisdictions, from themselves or from the cities. And so we report to them, they send us an invoice, we pay that invoice, and then they distribute it to the county. It's a portion much like sales tax. You pay, 8.375% sales tax here in Nevada City, but most of that money does not come to Nevada City. It gets sent to various jurisdictions. And so this is kind of that same format, but it's just an easier calculation, $12.
And I heard you say much of that in the manager's report. Thank you. I guess I'm just trying to understand, all that money, the whole $12 goes to the state?
No, it's partially to the county and partially to the state, but we give it to the county and they're responsible for however that split amongst the state and the county goes.
Got it. And can you help us understand why county gets money for fines that are accrued on our property in our jurisdiction?
Because the California legislature deemed it to be appropriate.
All right.
Not untypical of the California legislature.
There certainly is a trickle up and a trickle down when it has to do with, licensing of vehicles, driver's licenses, parking, roadways that are locally, regionally, or state supported, gas taxes, things like that. There's inherent things that are statewide and then trickle down to local agencies, and then the inverse is true as well. Local agencies have obligations to trickle up, as it were, to counties and to the state with these kind of fees.
Great. Thanks for breaking that down.
Adam?
Yeah, I lived downtown for over a decade, and I figured out pretty quick how to make it work and not end up getting ticketed all the time. But I had a roommate, very good guy, who worked at a movie theater, get home extremely late, sleep in, and he ended up on many months paying more in parking fines than he did in rent. That's his problem. But I will say, to the gentleman's point, maybe the idea of a sticker for people who live downtown, like, people are working remotely now. There are people who don't have a lot of excuses to go get in their car, but they need a car for sometimes. And the idea of making it easier for them to stay inside and not have to play musical chairs with parking seems like a strong one. Once we get the parking study, and you got a parking committee, something like that, do you?
Here we are.
Okay.
You're the parking committee.
I think that's worth looking at. Anyhow.
Yeah. I'm from New York, where you have to fight, people get killed for parking spots, and you have to, literally sit in your car for hours, and then, hopefully you can get one on the other side of the street. So we're not that bad, but we could be better. And so a couple points. On Daniela's point, I understand the county getting some of that money. I'm more worried in the service provider who's taking the rest of it. So, we have a service provider that's taken a hefty chunk and taken all of, obviously it's a little more collection on their part. Can we shop around? Is there a competition in there that would get us a better deal, or is that it?
There are a couple of vendors. That is a good deal, and the majority of our tickets are paid on time. So it's not even $1. We round it up there. I believe it's like 60 cents or something like that, Chief.
Okay.
So per
Okay.
ticket. So the majority of our tickets are collected at that 60 cents per ticket. But if they go delinquent, they have additional work, and they have to assign people to it, not computers to it.
Okay, yeah.
And so they have an increased cost, and they pass that along to us. That's
Yeah.
why you have that tiered schedule.
I just would, I've done a couple of these studies, and the cost, if we were to undertake that activity, 10 times as much as it costs, because they do it
There's no savings.
across the state in mass.
Scale,
So
yeah.
it's all scale. So that's why, and it's actually saves a lot of time and a lot of money for cities.
To Greg's point, in our parking study, we're going to, do an assessment of the impact on residents, obviously, right? And this kind of thing, whether it makes sense to have a sticker or residential parking permits. We're going to be, looking at that as well in the study. I'm asking.
That, the actual permits, not directly, but that information will be enough to come to the infrastructure committee, which is the former parking committee, now the strategic initiative of infrastructure, much bigger, to look at all of those kind of issues. And certainly, the hope would be that we come up with a comprehensive solution to our parking challenge and stop piecemealing it. And bring that solution to the council with all of those considerations.
Fair enough, fair enough. So all of that will be covered.
Resident and workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is our handicap parking fee? Chief, do you know if?
Currently, it is, I don't know off the top of my head, I can grab it for you.
No.
It used to be a minimum of 230.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher.
Ours is?
Yes.
Is-
But it is gonna be escalated up to what we have in the bill schedule.
Okay, yeah.
But the state sets a minimum level
Yeah.
that you can't go below. I think it's 230.
Yeah, and that should be. I mean, that's the most egregious parking violation I think there is, even though everybody has a handicap sticker. You can, they wanted to give me,
It's a disabled parking sticker now, but
I'm
I
sorry,
don't have one.
disabled person. Well, I mean, it's easy to get them, and I see people bounding out of their cars who have handicap stickers who, I'm like, Anyway,
It goes up from 250, 269
Yeah.
to 300.
Okay, good.
So it's a similar jump.
Yeah, and, I just paid $45 for parking in San Francisco, so, and I had somebody specifically say, they asked me what the fine was, and it was like, oh, that's nothing, and they just left the car there, because it was cheaper for them.
If you don't want to pay anything, park in the Nevada Street lot. If you don't want to pay anything or have less than 3 hours of things to do, park in the Spring Street lot. Otherwise, the cheapest way to do it is just pay the 50 cents an hour on our meters, and you won't get a ticket.
Or like somebody did, park in my driveway on New Year's Day.
Block you in. Wow.
$38.
Okay, and then delivery trucks, is that, I mean, to Matthew's point,
Chief Foss has been working on that. It is a challenge. The double parking is not acceptable, and they've been strictly enforcing that. They're trying to find solutions for locations that would be appropriate. Some of the longer trucks can't fit in some of the certain areas.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they're delivering to like Union Alley, for example, is much a different challenge than if they're delivering, I'm talking about like kegs of beer, than if they're delivering here. Because you'll likely see that they will park right up above us in the parking area that's yellow curbed, and then they can go downhill with the stuff instead of having to go uphill. So they're pretty good at it. But the rest of the downtown's much more of a challenge. But Chief Foss is working on that.
A lot of it is size, and a whole
Yeah.
bunch of it is size. They just
And
don't.
we have there actually cited a few, which is, I think, some of the first, and spoke to the management teams for the transporters. So we're working on it,
thank you.
like Sean said, but
That's,
work in progress. There is very narrow streets. It's tough to make the deliveries, but we're trying to find a solution.
well, I appreciate you addressing that issue, probably the first time in a while. All right, I'm looking for a motion then. I'm looking for a motion. Unless there's more, I don't want to stifle discussion, but.
I move that we hold the first reading, waive reading of ordinance in its entirety, read by title only, and schedule for second reading and adoption for January 25th, 2023, and adopt fee resolution.
That last
So we'll
bit
do the fee
separate.
resolution
Have to do
separate.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But I second exactly what she just said until she said the other thing.
Always a funny guy.
You want to read it, or?
Sure, if it's all right, Mayor,
This is what we get, Dean.
Yeah.
you want, Dean's, oh, I'm going to use my movie voice, ladies and gentlemen. Ordinance number 2023-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, amending Chapter 10.25, Stopping, Standing, and Parking of Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to parking bail schedule, amending Chapter 13.04, Water System of Title 13, Public Services of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to water connection fees, amending Chapter 13.08, Sewer System of Title 13, Public Services of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to sewer connection fees, and amending Chapter 17.40, GB General Business Zone of Title 17 Zoning of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to conditional use permit fees for ground level offices.
Roll call?
Yes, roll call, sorry. Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Yay. Can I just say for the record, could you just say for the record, for people listening at home, that we're not raising any sewer or water fees?
Correct, we are not raising any sewer or water fees, and if we were, in the next action that I'd request you take to adopt the master fee schedule resolution, to change the sewer or water fees is an entirely different structure that requires an advanced notice of the public hearing and a whole bunch of other things, so that cannot happen just spontaneously with any council meeting. You'll know long before.
It's like a civil right.
Proposition 218. everybody.
See, it's a proposition even. Okay, so moving along, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to move that we approve a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City amending the fiscal year 2022-23 citywide master fee schedule.
I second that.
First by Mr. Peterson, second by Ms. Fernandez.
Councilmember Cece. Yes. Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
Mayor Fleming.
Are you mixing it up on them? One goes first the one time and one goes first the other time?
I don't know.
No, I just, never mind. Anyway, moving on.
No,
You're
it's
doing
the
it. Great
same.
job, great job.
It's the same. It was the eye contact that was different.
Oh, okay.
Eye contact.
All right.
Doug's a visual learner.
I am a visual learner. Moving on to business. Item 11, consideration of resolution 2023-3, a resolution of the City of Nevada, City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, ratifying proclamation number 2023-01 of the city manager acting in his role as the Director of Civil Defense and Disaster, declaring an emergency due to the December 31st, 2022 winter storm. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, and my title as the Director of Civil Defense and Disaster tells you when our municipal code was written, shortly after World War II. I know that this storm it feels like it's winding down a little bit today. Tomorrow will be our first day with no rain, no wind for a full 24 hours. It doesn't feel like Snowmageddon, but it's been significant throughout the state, throughout the region, throughout the county. My general rule for taking this role as the Director of Civil Defense and Disaster is that if we have significant impacts to the community and costs to the city, and we anticipate that there will be a regional, state, or federal declaration that we will proclaim, because it puts us on the clock to start cataloging all these things that are happening. So it kind of forces our hand to start the inventorying process of damage. And if we don't have any issues, then that's great. We don't have to declare. But in this case, I noted in the staff report that we did the proclamation. The county didn't and did not intend to. That has since changed. The county does and now intend, or they have done an emergency proclamation and will bring it to the Board of Supervisors to ratify. And the storm is not over, so we'll continue to see some challenges. So. Specifically, our initial damage estimates, which we submitted to Cal OES, we've been doing it daily, are now up to $378,400. That includes our overtime expenses, which actually aren't that much. That's a very small. I think that is $950 of what's sitting there, I believe. But the most significant are trees falling, a tree hitting one of our water infrastructures, the pump house on Lost Hill, debris into our wastewater treatment plant, which has to be pumped out, and we've done initial to keep the plant running, but we'll have to go back and do more work there. We've had to hire back crews for storm debris. We changed the lower field at Pioneer Park into Lake Pioneer Park the other day. And we were able to get the relatively large trees that were down in the creek out. That helped with that quite a bit, but we have lived this before. We know what the ultimate damage to the surface of the ball field, replacing that clay infield infrastructure, removing all the silt, reseeding or replanting the lawn, what it'll take to what was eroded underneath the field and in the bend of Little Deer Creek. We know we've done this before, so we kind of know what those will be. We'll take the opportunity to improve it so that maybe next time it doesn't happen, but those are all kind of the big ticket items.
Can you say that total again, please?
It's $378,450. That's what we submitted today. We submit daily with increases. Today's increase was accounting for a leak that we have in City Hall. So that is, it's not in this, yes, it is not in this building, but it's the roof on the second floor and it comes down to the first floor. So good times. But all of those things, that none of this means that we will get reimbursed, but it means that if there is reimbursable funds, we'll be, right there submitting. So we will revisit this with you to a report monthly of the status, and you would have to reaffirm the emergency condition every 60 days if it stayed that way. I hope that in 60 days we are no longer in this storm, but I can't promise you that we won't be in a different storm declaration. So with that, the resolution before you would ratify my proclamation and make it official for the city. We are obligated to do it within 7 days of the proclamation. The timing was such that we could put it on this agenda without having to call a special meeting.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anybody in the room who would like to comment on this item? If not, is there anybody in cyberspace who would like to comment on this item?
There is. Go ahead, Matthew.
All right, thank you. What comes to mind is the homeless situation and the homeless shelter situation and the turning out of people during the days. And what I listen to every day on the police scanner, including tonight, are nonstop calls for people that just basically need shelter. And they're camping out in bathrooms, they're camping out in CVS and Safeway, and anywhere they can find that's dry, any doorway. Libraries, today they had to remove someone from the Rood Center hallway. So these are all emergency responses, and often 2 people today were just laying on the sidewalk until they were taken to the hospital because they were intoxicated. So we're paying anyway for that, and I'm not trying to say that Nevada City needs to take this on entirely, but because it has been dumped on Nevada City in a large part by the county and by Grass Valley, that Nevada City is the candidate to step up and advance the subject a little bit further so we don't have people that are just literally dying on the sidewalks. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment?
There is not. He was the only one.
Okay. I'm going to bring it to the table. And Adam, you want to just start? I'm just going to go this way this time.
I got nothing right now.
Okay. Lou? I mean, sorry. And I threw a pen at you, too.
It went by his feet.
It's just,
First of all, thank you, Sean. I applaud your foresight and preparedness in getting this proclamation out. There's nothing to lose by not having it, and plenty to gain by doing it in a timely way and staying ahead of it. It also really shows you're paying attention, but we know that you do. I did want to say that there's a couple things. Lake Pioneer Park. My wife gets credit for that. She's looking out the window and said, I don't think that's right. So what happened is a lot of tree clearing up Little Deer Creek since Snowmageddon, and that stuff washed down, and we walked up the creek, and the logs had jammed against standing trees and built a dam. And these were, 8, 10 foot, 12-inch round logs, and it stacked up, and so it just jumped the creek and was just pouring into the ball fields. And then it was re-entering the creek back between the ball fields and the tennis courts, where it probably has done some real erosion damage back in there. But it was a lot of water. So I sent Sean the video right away, and the guys were out there in minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And took care of it, and they did a great job of taking care of it. But more importantly, I would point to the preparedness. This city was ready for this. Those folks have been out there. I have a really nasty storm drain in front of my house, and if it jams up, I get a lot of water. But they've cleared them. They made sure everything was ready. People were in position and people were in place. They did a really good job in getting ready for this type of activity, which really saves a lot in the long run. So good job our crews and the whole team, and really well done. We're in good hands.
thanks, Gary. Daniela?
Yeah, Sean, thank you so much. I agree with you in your sort of positionality of if there's the potential for money on the table and we're spending time and money, that we should definitely seek that. So thank you for this, bringing this proclamation forward. And secondly, to Matthew's point, I've been on the phone with you, Sean, and Chief Foss several times over the last couple weeks in the rain, really, really concerned about unhoused people and not having a place to be. We've got to do better. The standards for the warming shelter, I understand the reasons. I understand that it's a money issue. It's a financial issue. It's a capacity issue. We need to find the resources. We need to prioritize homelessness. I know that historically, Nevada City has passed the buck to the county, and that's not good enough anymore. I do think we are finally at the table, and I do think we need to leverage that voice. You know this. We've talked about this a lot, but I'm saying it more publicly. It's not acceptable. People don't have a place to be. I had somebody knock on my door, an unhoused person knock on my door and ask for another blanket because everything they had was soaked and there was nowhere to go. And that's just someone who's willing to knock on the door of an elected leader. There are so many others that most people are not willing to do that. We hear about the most vocal, the sort of downtown personalities. Those are the ones we know about. And I'm also concerned about the people that we don't know about, that don't have a place to live. And so we have to do better. We have to find funding. We have to prioritize this.
Thank you, Daniela. Here. Lou?
I want to echo what Daniela said. I know, Sean, that you've been talking to the county about opening the shelters more frequently than just what is strictly allowed by temperature, because certainly damp clothing causes you to be hypothermic.
Or soaking wet clothing.
Yeah, soaking wet is what we have. I asked 3 people camping out in doorways on the way to this meeting tonight and asked them if they knew if there were shelters open, and they said no. And that's why I asked you as well. And they still need shelter. The rain may be light tonight, but it's still rain and it's still wet, and it still causes them to potentially be in a life-threatening situation. On a different note, I also want to congratulate the crews for cleaning out the gutters and the drain spots. It was quick, it was efficient, I saw it everywhere. I also saw my neighbors out cleaning out their storm drains in front of their houses. And I congratulate them as well.
I also want to add, Lou, something you said, reminded me, about 12 years ago, somebody died of hypothermia, an unhoused person in Nevada City. I don't want us to get to that point. I don't want us to make a change because somebody dies. We have the foresight, we have the wherewithal, we know that that's a potential. We need to problem solve this before that happens. It already happened, it will happen again if we continue to be negligent with human lives.
Here. I just love this conversation, and, I like the way Matt framed it, that we are the ones who have to step up because we have, more collective energy towards that, and we could move the needle on the unhoused a lot easier than maybe Grass Valley or the county, certainly. Not any offense to them, but we're just smaller, we have a more manageable thing. I go over to Chevron a lot because that's, my travel thing. And so I talk to the guys there and the gals there if they want to talk. And, they're all in this foul weather gear. And it's, they're used to this, but it's rough. It is rough to be out there. They got, they're still soaked with this stuff. And it's just, and it's a whole conversation about, how to get some people who are service resistant help. But, I have to agree with everything that everybody said. We do need to step up, and we can find the money. There's plenty of money for it. Money shouldn't be the issue. And then as far as, I have to echo about our Public Works crew. They, I was out, during the holidays, I like the rain. And I see these guys everywhere. They're all over my neighborhood. I'm like, how many do we have? 'Cause
5.
they seem like there's a
5
lot
and
more
shade.
of them. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think
amazing.
we've all noticed this. And I have never seen this before. I've never seen, I notice when I see a truck around. This is a whole new
very
world.
different.
Yeah, so kudos to them and to everybody who's making that happen. One of the things I noticed in the emergency declaration was that Governor Newsom listed a bunch of counties. I didn't see Nevada County in the first tranche, but we're in there, right?
His proclamation was a statewide disaster.
Oh, it was? Okay, because
Yes.
I saw one that was counties first,
And then the President Biden made a declaration for FEMA for the entire state of California as well. There was a subsequent action related to a couple of hot spots, the Central Valley flooding, the coastal, Monterey and that area, and then down in Los Angeles, as well as in the mid-state where they had some children that washed away and things that were just just horrible. So those were hot spots, but the proclamation applies statewide.
Okay, I read it in passing. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion. I think this is, I like you run of civil defense.
Yes.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
I second.
We had Lou's first.
What?
Lou made the first.
The first.
The first.
You said so moved, but it hadn't been named, so I figured
Awesome.
Okay, we're going to do
the task.
roll call.
Councilmember CC? Yes. Councilmember Klein?
Yep.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Fleming?
Yes. Okay, moving on. All right, okay, you guys are talking. Item number 12, consideration of a 2022, a year in a review report and a report on the work and recommendations of the city's seven strategic initiative committees and provide direction to city manager for future action. Very exciting.
So this is just one of those places where I'm looking for your direction and to share information. We went through the whole process of strategic planning last year. You adopted the strategic plan. It's great. We have these committees. They've started to work. But I wouldn't want to, it would be very easy to kind of splinter that off and the full council not know what the other work of the committees is. So this just is a kickoff, so to speak, of the 2023 work of the committees, giving you an opportunity to refocus me if necessary and or ask questions of your colleagues or me as far as what the committees are doing. So I don't want to belabor the point, but I'd love to cover a couple of things. In the future, our 2023 year in review will be based on our performance from strategic plan goals and objectives and budget goals and objectives, and and some solid metrics that will develop along the way, and then those will be year over year be able to trend and see the work that we're doing and performing. But this year I just put together that 2022 year in review to highlight that you get a very, very good deal. The taxpayers get a very, very good deal for what they invest in this community. You heard a lot, and the folks at home heard a lot about what our public works do. Those 5 people plus our superintendent do what in most cities would be a crew that just does water distribution and wastewater collection, the pipes in the street, a separate crew that does parks and facilities, maybe just parks, and a separate one that does facilities. Ours do all of that with one, plus they empty the garbages downtown and they clean the bathrooms downtown and they keep the public bathrooms at City Hall in working order and they do the street sweeping and a million other things. And our wastewater treatment operators are 2 folks and a chief plant operator. And then the rest of the city, for the most part, are armies of one. So it's one person doing a whole bunch of work. So with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'd just love to go through some of the items from that report that I'll call fun facts. But
Please.
our city's 2.19 square miles. We started as 1 square mile when we incorporated 166 years ago. Now we're 2.19, 3,334 people, $5.9 million operating budget. We're the 15th incorporated city in the state. Now there's 482 of us, but we're still number 15. I like that.
Yeah.
We had 9 full-time hires in 2022, including myself. Thank you, council, which represents a third of our full-time workforce. Gabby had to do all of the onboarding for that, so thank you, Gabby. We saw council members and former mayors Dwayne Strasser and Aaron Minette end their terms June 30th, and started Councilmember Cece and Klein on their 4-year. It's not a 3-hour tour, but 4 years in the seat. And then City Treasurer Dave McKay, Joan Philippi as our interim city manager, and Ted Steck as our interim police chief all ended their terms last year. So we thank them. A number that I think is pretty amazing, you'll probably never see again, but we're going to strive for it, is received almost $6 million in grant awards in 2022. And we still have $4 million in outstanding applications that will be awarded, we anticipate, in the first quarter of 2023. Really too much to list what all the departments did, but I just want to hit some highlights by department. So you, as the city council, initiated a stakeholder-led strategic planning process and adopted our first comprehensive 5-year strategic plan. Office of City Clerk, 22 regular city council meetings, 3 special city council meetings. The role of the city treasurer was transitioned from an elected official to now it's my responsibility. And you will see at our next meeting a new investment policy, because the council is the one that decides what the investment policy is, and we're the ones that undertake it. So there'll be some revisions there. Your planning commissioners had 10 regular meetings, 8 special meetings. They had 34 architectural reviews, 8 conditional use permits and variances, and 3 cannabis permits. And the city planner brought you a number of ordinances, some big ones, objective design standard and the outdoor dining and the right-of-way ordinance. Engineering facilitated the completion of the Commercial Street project, and that had $637,500 of external funding sources, not included in the $6 million of grants that we received. The city engineer pretty much single-handedly led the mitigation recovery efforts for the Snowmageddon storm, and that includes $715,000 in Cal OES reimbursements to date, and another $166,000 pending that we know that we'll get. Finance administration partnered with me and the rest of the staff to deliver an on-time budget for the first time in a couple of years, and to get us back on track for our audit cycles. Division Chief Goodspeed got asked or voluntold by me to create a program to inspect all of the parcels within Nevada City, and as you can imagine, that was a pretty big challenge, and he took it very well and created a nice program where we can retain the information on that, and inspected over 1,800 parcels in the year, and did over 50 acres of fuels mitigation with our grant-funded masticator. The fire department also implemented a limited advanced life support program, which, for lack of a better term, means they can give medications and other life-saving activities that would otherwise only be performed by a doctor or paramedic. Our Parks and Recreation manager, she really worked with the county on their parks, recreation, and resiliency activities, and has helped what is now our Parks Committee be in a really good place, a great opportunity to partner with the county and advance a lot of the things that we need in recreation. Plus, she did 24 events at the band shell and 200 at Seaman's Lodge. 200 events at Seaman's Lodge in 365 days. You all voted to retain and enhance your Nevada City Police Department. We hired a new chief, 3 new officers, 2 civilians, and we began the transition to community-oriented policing model. Public Works staff led the storm recovery efforts from last year, and they acquired, installed, and trained staff on how to run the emergency generator that we've never had for this building. And now that we have it, the power never goes out. So thank you for approving that, council. Water and wastewater, also called sewer staff, treated 198,337,000 gallons of potable water and 156,451,000 gallons of effluent. Put that in another context, 3 full-time employees in the city delivered about 250 million gallons of clean drinking water to our city. So it's good return on investment for what we have there. The missing puzzle piece has always been, but we never identified it, was from these accomplishments, is connectivity to a comprehensive plan of some sort, something where we say the things that we're doing are based on what the council wants us to do and ultimately what the community wants the council to want us to do. And so with your adopting the strategic plan, that allows us to, put that in that mold. And so in future years, your year-end reports will be more aligned with that. And that's where we get into your 7 strategic initiative committees. So I just want to run through them really quick. Not really quick, but they're all working at some various stage. And because they have different workflows and different things to do, they're all at various stages, and that's normal. The first is housing, which is Mayor Fleming and Vice Mayor Fernandez, which is workforce and affordable housing, supportive of leasing local and maintenance of homeowner value. They're meeting on January 23rd, 5 p.m. here at City Hall. They're going to address, in part, the Lease Local program, an ADU design for pre-approval in the city. That's goal 2 and 3 in the strategic plan. Housing needs analysis, which number 6 is re-implement the short-term rental program aligned with objective standards from housing needs analysis. So some complexity to our short-term rental program, but we have to start talking about that. And then also the priority project number 1 from our legislative platform, which is to redevelop a city-owned parcel of land on Zion Street, focused on housing. And I'm quite certain, based on the discussions this evening, that agenda will include how we can advance the housing needs of our current unhoused populations. And then, just so that you're aware, goal number 8 is the last goal in all of them is to get grants, right? And so last year, Amy, your city planner, just under the wire of the end of the year, submitted a $200,000 REAP 2.0 grant to develop that ADU design to be pre-approved through the city so that someone could just take it off the shelf, build it, and make more affordable housing here in the city. The fire committee, using the existing Fire Safety Advisory Committee, is council members Klein and Cece, but their additional folks are Division Chief Sam Goodspeed, Sam Gitchell, Alex Keeble-Toll, Terry Voorhees, Theo Finati, pronounce his last name for me, Finati, is I said it right, Randall Fazell, Pete Williams, Nancy Weber, and Kai Pratchner. The committee met on December 13th and adopted a 2023 work plan. And essentially that is the things that they want to do to advance what's in the strategic plan and their own desires in 2023. And so those are, and I would recommend that you wholeheartedly adopt these and encourage that committee to get to work and do good things because they're ready to go and want to go, and they put a lot of effort into coming up with this. So they want to review the current Nevada City ordinance and identify opportunities to integrate wildfire mitigation objectives, support and suggest improvements to our hazardous vegetation inspection program, identify and prioritize for the maintenance of shelter-in-place, temporary refuge areas, and evacuation routes, and provide access points for community input to the future community wildfire protection plan. So they would handle the outreach and that kind of thing. And then lastly, provide recommendations for grant opportunities related to prevention, education, mitigation, response, and recovery in the fire arena, or really everywhere. For item number 1, the ordinance, staff is already working towards an amendment considering the committee's previous recommendations. They'll take that up at their the Fire Safety Advisory Committee will take that up at their January 19th meeting right here at City Hall. The Water Committee is council members Peterson and Cece. Much of the subject matter items for both water and infrastructure come in the form of expanding what our capital improvement program looks like. Today it is essentially a list of projects that your city engineer Brian has in his mind that needs to be done and need to be funded at some point. And while there's nothing wrong with that, we have 160-year-old pipes in the ground and nothing on paper that says when we're going to replace them. We have 9 air conditioning units on the roof of this building with no plan to replace them when they die, or no knowledge of when they might die. And, all of the things that go along with that. We own, conservatively 560 acres of open space and have no comprehensive plan for the maintenance and ongoing cost of that open space, including the trails. So I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm saying that to represent that there's a lot of things that we could be doing and should be doing, and I think the council would want to prioritize as work and/or order me to go find grants to address. That should all be in our capital improvement program. And so that is largely on the water side. For water and wastewater, the water committee will take up those items, everything from those 160-year-old pipes to what our wastewater treatment facility will need 20 years down the road, because if we don't start planning for it now, those multi-million-dollar expenses will be insurmountable 20 years from now. And then everything else we want to do is infrastructure. And so some of the other committees will funnel into that, like Parks and Rec and Fire. If there's infrastructure demands there, they will recommend those things, hand them over to infrastructure, they build them into the CIP. We have a CIP workshop with that committee. Ultimately, that comes to the budget workshop of the council and gets integrated into the budget that you all adopt. And so that we have this kind of progression of things so that you know that the things that you want and the community wants done live in our budget and our processes. The kind of the timeline, January, we're creating the CIP framework, and we'll talk about our interim assistant city manager at the end of the night, but he will be the architect of the creation of that framework. By February 15th, we'll collect internal reporting for the CIP as far as projects, capital replacement, rolling stock maintenance, and deferred maintenance. By March 15th, we'll have a draft of the CIP to the infrastructure committee, and department meetings on the budget, April 19th or thereabouts. We would anticipate a CIP workshop with the infrastructure committee. May 3rd is your budget workshop already scheduled for the city, and June 14th would be your CIP and budget adoption. So I know that's 6 months away, but there's a lot of stuff to get done. Councilmember Ceci and Peterson in between here and there. The business committee, Councilmembers Klein and Ceci, met on January 3rd. They're the first ones out of the gate. Thank you. They've already recommended the city council amend chapter 5.04 of the municipal code related to event vending business license type that we currently don't have, and creating a challenge for folks that want to come out and sell once a year at Farmers Market, or once a year at Victorian Christmas, or maybe 5 times a year at Victorian Christmas, and $127 that, you know, SPD would pay is a challenge for them. And so there's a recommendation on the table there that we'll be bringing back to the full council. They've made a recommendation relative to one of the goals to advance the vacant storefronts ordinance. They're working with the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce on possible tourism business infrastructure development district. That's another goal from the to work with the chamber from the strategic plan. And they are scheduled to meet in February to continue to work on these established goals. And one of the other things that will be coming in February would be an updated report from the Cannabis Alliance on future recommended amendments to our cannabis regulation ordinances. The county just adopted theirs yesterday. There are new changes, and so we would be next in line if that's the direction that the council has. Same thing here. We've submitted a grant under the goal number 8 for pursuing grants for the Cannabis Equity Program under that committee. Under Vibrancy, Vice Mayor Fernandez, Councilmember Klein, Arts, Culture, and the word we don't say, Voldemort, distinction. The committee has a public meeting scheduled here in City Hall February 2nd. We'll be looking at the public art process and including enabling ordinance, a Seven Hills specific plan, engaging the arts community and stakeholders, and create and implement a stakeholder communications plan. That's all in the work of the Vibrancy Committee. Infrastructure is what we already talked about with water. It's kind of like ditto, 2 different things, but fortunately we put the same 2 people on those 2 committees. Otherwise that would have been a whole bunch of work for extra people. Thank you, Gary and Lou. You would have never known when you signed up for Parking Committee that would become that.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And then Parks is Mayor Fleming and Councilmember Peterson. And that there's, I spoke about it a little bit earlier when I was talking about our manager, Don. There's a real opportunity there for us to partner with the county, and that committee has been active in the county's recreation and resiliency effort, including meeting with the consultants and with county staff on where we can plug in, where the future of those things are. They've been asked for, and we'll be looking at not only what our existing Parks Master Plan is, which is just for Pioneer Park, but what are the other locations that we own and what could be recreational amenities in the future. And, you know, that was very helpful. I appreciate that. Because I know all the places that we own in the city, because I asked for that list when I got here, and it's great. What I should have asked is where are all the places that we own, period. Because we own parcels outside the city too that could be recreation amenities or housing or a mall. I don't know, but there's other places that can speak to other,
Don't say that.
you know.
They will run you out of town.
Not that kind of mall. So that's been largely the work of that committee, because that recreation and resiliency component from the county, the consultant that they have, will start to be engaging now in the new year with community workshops and engaging the community, and us being positioned to be part of that is a great opportunity, but it also helps us not have to do some of the work, not duplicate the efforts, and we can take from them what will work for Nevada City and then work on the things that aren't aligned with them on our own. Same there, goal number 7, actively pursue grants. We did submit a grant submission under Prop 68, a $3 million grant over 5 years, includes a $1 million ask to convert the field at Seven Hills Middle School into an all-weather turf field that would become a joint use school facility and public park. So that is a great opportunity there. Thank you, Mayor. So that's the whole enchilada. That's the long spiel. But I don't want to lose track of all the work that all of you are doing, but I also don't want you to get, like I said, splintered or not feel like you know what the other committees are doing, because we're not at a point where work necessarily is coming back to the council, other than some of the business committee stuff that's going to be relatively easy for us to advance. So I don't want you to be operating in a vacuum. So now's your chance to give me direction on any of those things, ask your colleagues questions about or you know, thoughts on how the committees should be considering their workload, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Is there any public comment in the room on this item? If not, can we check with Matthew? I mean, Cybers. Oh, sorry, Greg. I keep missing you. You're over on my well, I can't, no excuse. You're watching us on the TV.
It's such a big issues.
It is a big issue. Thank you.
But I want to appreciate that, you know, for having a little Mayberry type of town, that we do function pretty good here, you know. I've been coming here for 20 years and being the fly on the wall, but that's why I chose to come back and live here, you know, because it's a pretty cool spot. First of all, on the emergency part of things, do we have a CERT team or a CERT program, which is Citizens Emergency Response Team? It's the green hat guys, you know what I'm talking about?
There's not in the city.
Okay, is there a county? Because that's usually county there's money for that, you know, so just think about that.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's an IC.
What's the acronym again?
CERT.
CERT, C-E-R-T.
Okay. Yeah.
And then on some of this tech center over here in Seven Hills,
Yep.
I'd like to know is that city-owned or is that privately owned? It's pretty vacant over there. I noticed we have a
I'll talk
car
about that
auction
in a
area
second.
and all that. You'll talk about that?
Second, yeah.
Okay, and then that's about it right now.
Awesome.
Thank you, Greg.
And
Appreciate it.
we can always meet with you after, sir, or some other time, schedule a time, and get your questions answered. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Is there anybody out there?
Particularly because public comment, traditionally, we're not technically able or supposed to engage in answering questions. It's more of just receiving from the audience and then taking in information. Would love to answer your questions.
Is there anybody in public comment out there?
If you'd like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand. No hands
I put them all to sleep, sorry.
No, that was good. All right, let's bring it to the table. Anybody have a burning desire you want to start? Luke? Oh, Danielle is ready to go.
That's okay.
Mine is really short. I just want to call out Dawn for instituting the winter swim program at Pioneer Park. It kind of saved the master swim program here in town. And thank you, Dawn, for doing that.
Here, here.
Thank you, Sean, for that thorough assessment of all the work that's been done over the year and is continuing to happen. And thank you, Greg, for mentioning that, you know, we're getting shit done. And just reminding folks that this feels new in some ways. Not that people at City Hall have not been working or not been doing their jobs, because they certainly have. But now we're under really wonderful leadership and with vision and more tools and enthusiasm. It's amazing what you can get done. Thank you. And also just thinking about moving forward, and you know, I do like this sort of recap, and I know we talked about doing this regularly, and just also reminding my colleagues that those council member report backs at the end of the meeting can also be used to talk about when we meet as committees and the work that we're doing, so that that we're not ever in the dark about work that's being done. That's it.
Here, here. Gary?
Well, first of all, thank you for the year-end report. Very well done. You know, it's one of the things, if you don't tell people what you've done, they might assume you're not doing anything. And this is a substantial report that clearly articulates a substantial effort. And I think that's really important because, as you note, Danielle, you know, it took us a while, but now we look forward. You know, you hear the numbers out there tonight. You know, a third of the staff turned over. That was senior staff. That was mostly senior staff. So we completely rebuilt the city. We set ourselves up to look forward, to move forward, and now we're starting to do the work. And it is substantial. So you think about that. You know, we heard those wonderful numbers about the multi-billion gallons of water that was moved on 160-year-old infrastructure that's not going to hold up. As we start to think about that, infrastructure is going to become such a critical issue for this. And it's not that I'm arguing for the committee that I'm on, because I'm certainly not, but it's, you know, it's the invisible thing that costs so much money, and just traditionally, not just in our city, not just in our state, but in our entire country, has not been maintained at a level. I mean, the national infrastructure card is something like $3.5 trillion below zero. And that means to bring everything up to the standards where it should be is about $3.5 trillion. So, you know, defense budget stuff, level stuff, budgeting, to fix roads, bridges, water, everything else. So there's a lot that we need to pay attention to. And as we look at these, I really appreciate your comments, Daniela, because we have to stay connected to each other on the work that we're doing. However that works, because it is all interconnected, it is a system that one part pushes on the other. Because, you know, we're going to really the capital improvement project that Sean is talking about is going to be a list of very serious priorities, but it's not the only priorities, because we have public safety, we have policing, we have housing, which are not necessarily in there. So we're going to be in a process of really figuring out priorities and how we talk to each other and make sure that across these committees we understand and agree on where those priorities are, because, you know, that you take the resources. Yes, we're going to do an abundance thing. We're not going to do any longer constraint that we don't have the money. We don't have the money. We're going to get the money. We've got $6 million this year. We'll get more money, but still with a small staff and a lot of priorities. It's going to take a lot of work to sort that out. I think we're going to, in order to succeed, we're going to become very much a working council, which is good. But how we stay connected through all of this maintain our vision of the system and establish those priorities is going to be what the future's about. And we need to work into that process, whether it's with the reports at the end, or as Sean has done, an update every so often about where we are. We've got to stay connected on this. But a great way forward. Happy New Year. A lot of resolutions in here. But thank you for that, Sean. The report is excellent. I hope to see it on the website, more prominently featured, and we need to distribute it as broadly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam?
Yeah. I love the year in review. I love hearing a list of things that don't just happen. It happened because there was will and there was work put into it, and I'm always so thankful for the city staff for doing such an excellent job. The strategic planning, hearing about all what the committees are doing, that sounds like all what we agreed was important, and it sounds like it's actually happening, so that's really encouraging too. I'm really glad to be on the committees I'm on. I'm excited about the work that's being done. I'm looking forward to Vibrancy and all the folks we invited, and get all the input from a range of voices. I think that's going to be really great. Yeah, thank you. Sounds great.
Thank you. You know, one of my biggest concerns, and I have to say a complaint from our previous council, was that I knew nothing about what the committees were doing. I didn't even hear a report on the committee. I didn't even, you know, it was so disconnected. And, you know, as a new council member, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I can't talk to anybody outside of this room about this stuff. And, you know, and some of it were, people were keeping their stuff close to the vest for whatever reason, but, you know, I think now this is the way it's supposed to work. And I do appreciate that, you know, a lot of times we want to get out of here really quick, but that last part is something that we're going to have to stay for and talk about what's going on in the committees, you know, and talking about the things that we want to agendize, you know, collectively, because we just don't have the opportunity to talk a lot. And it's just great to hear what every committee is going to do. I'm not going to belabor the point, but, you know, I'd like to ask some specific questions, like as far as the business committee, and who's dealing with Seven Hills? Vibrancy and business, or just?
Vibrancy.
Vibrancy, yeah. So, you know, my concern, just having been in part of that process of getting all the stakeholders involved in Seven Hills, is, you know, you get a couple people come in, you get a couple different people come in, and I've been to, you know, 4 of those meetings, and there's maybe 2 people that are the same, and it's always a different cast of characters. I really want to see that project, you know, get a lot of input from the business owners. And I just wonder, you know, if there's any thoughts of how to do that, you know, how to get better input and better participation from the you know, the community, I guess.
That's the Seven Hills meetings.
Yeah.
I've seen the same thing where there's a couple people who show up every time, but mostly it's people pop in, don't show up ever again.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a mixer coming up.
On the 18th at Roy Bald.
And hopefully we'll get some more engagement and encourage people to show up to the regular meetings there, but.
And to be fair, that's a new group that's meeting, you know? It's not like the downtown business owners group that's been meeting for years. You know, this is a new thing, so it's going to take investment and effort to get people to show up regularly. And I don't know that, I don't know that we haven't, but I don't know that we have convinced them enough of the city's seriousness about their area and the revitalization that we're looking into. I've talked to some of them personally outside of the meeting who were really surprised, and I shared a lot of new information with them. So I think connecting with that group, connecting with the chamber, and then for me, you know, I spend a lot of time and money in that area, and it might end up being that we, you know, that Adam and I personally canvass
That's
business
exactly what
owners,
I was
because
say.
that's the way I do things in this community anyways, you know. I'm not an elected official by email. If you want to talk to me, you go to the farmers market on Saturday. I'm there for about 3 hours talking to people. You know, I'm in town. I'm in the community. So likely that, but also I want to give that group, that business group in the Seven Hills district, a chance to become regular because they are so new. I think that it will become as regular as the downtown business.
But I think that was exactly my point, is that it's going to take us council members going out door to door, knocking on things, getting commitments from people, because the chamber can only do so much. And I think we have a lot more sway, you know, if you go around and you know, everybody who came to that meeting was excited about it. It's just that there's not this collective, energy that some people need. So whatever I can do to help, I'll
I'm a
certainly.
community organizer. We got this.
Well, and it's about structure. And it's got to be about structure and organizing principles. People need to have a reason to be there, to understand that there's decisions being made that's going to impact their lives. And once they start to clue into that, that's one of the ways it works. But
And
know
I
you
don't
know
think
that.
that has been conveyed to them a lot. I think
We're
there's
just
this.
getting there ourselves.
Yeah, we just started. The
Well, I
committee just met
understand, but
once.
in order to jumpstart this and we don't have a lot of time to just like this, to let this, gel organically. I think we're going to have to be proactive and use your community organizing and getting out there. And that was my
I
only
hear your
point.
concern, and,
It's not a concern, it's just a comment.
okay, well, I hear your comment, and we got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I'd love to, I can't wait to see how many people come to the next meeting.
Well, for me, it's not about people showing up to the meeting necessarily. It's about people knowing.
Participating in
what-
the process, how about
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
All right. And then.
And also, real quick, while we're on that, there is a disconnect when you said, I would like to see who would show up at the next meeting. I would like to attend that. I think it's more appropriate that Adam and I attend those meetings as the two council members.
No, you guys are attending, I'm just saying.
I mean, I haven't
It's
attended
been-
yet because
it's
I
been
was
me and
told it
Lou.
was two other people.
It's been me and Lou because,
As part of our
Yeah.
liaison with the chamber.
Got it, which makes sense, and there's overlap there.
But part of that is our work to clarify roles and responsibilities.
Totally, which is
Who shows up where, who's responsible for what, that's part of it.
Yeah.
This is all new. This is new for all of us. We've got to figure it out, take some breaths, and we'll get there. And we're smart enough to do it, and we have the skills and the talents, and we'll get there.
Sure.
But it's all
That's
new
why
for
we're bringing it
everybody.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't planning on going there and usurping your committee because, I just want to see this go, and I've talked to some people involved in this, and some people aren't really convinced that the city's committed, that there is a coherent plan, and that there's a reason
That's
to
okay.
attend.
There's people all over the city that aren't convinced of that. That's okay.
I'm not saying it's a problem, I'm just making a comment that these are things that have come up, and I'm just trying to bubble them up to you because you guys are on the committee.
Sure, and I'm just commenting back.
Thank you. All right, moving on. All right, so we got one more thing. Is there anything else that we need to talk about on this? Do we need to vote on this? We do.
No, I got the direction, don't need any vote unless you want to put something on the table.
No, not unnecessarily.
I would
so.
recommend against it.
Okay, moving on.
Dean said no.
Before you close it off, Doug, if members who are not on the vibrancy committee have suggestions, we can just talk to our fellow.
Yeah, well, this is the place.
Yes.
That was the point. Okay, so we're done. The city manager's report and all that.
Number 13.
Oh, sorry, I missed 13. Lucky
To fix
13.
the parking thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How did I miss that?
Which parking?
So, this is one that I would have put on consent, but I know you would have pulled because you would want to talk about it. So, we've identified a conflict between what the municipal code says a holiday is and what the general public, or even I, would consider a holiday when it comes to paying the parking meters. So, for example, the municipal code just defines Christmas as December 25th, meaning that the police department writes tickets if you don't pay the meters just on that day. But this year, December 25th was a Sunday, and the federal, state, and city of Nevada City observed holiday was on the 26th on a Monday. City Hall was closed, but the municipal code says you get a ticket if you don't pay the meter. So to me, that's wrong, and so this resolution would take that out of that's not the police department's fault that we didn't write it correctly, right? And it's not the community's fault that they understand holiday to mean holiday. So this resolution would fix that issue and essentially say these are the holidays. And so specifically the resolution says paying a parking meter should not be required on all city, state, and federal holidays and their recognized observation days or any future day in which the city hall is closed in consideration of a holiday. And it also says that the city shall not enforce parking meter fees for any of the holidays specified, and that the list of such dates shall be provided at City Hall and on the city's website, updated each calendar year. Because our meters just say you don't have to pay on Sundays and holidays.
Yeah.
And so people shouldn't have to interpret what a holiday is. So for clarity, what we would publish for 2023 is New Year's Day was January 1st, but also observed January 2nd. President's Day is a Monday, Cesar Chavez is a Friday, Memorial Day is a Monday, Juneteenth is a Monday, the 4th of July is a Tuesday this year, Labor Day is a Monday, Indigenous People or Columbus Day is a Monday, Veterans Day is a Friday, Thanksgiving's a Thursday, day after is Friday, Christmas Day is a Monday in 2023, so it doesn't give us this double activity, and neither does New Year's Day because it's a Monday as well. So we just happen to be lucky in 2023 that we don't have that problem, but we would reproduce it every other year in some fashion. So there is a cost potentially in not collecting meter fees. If you look at 50 cents an hour, we only collect meter fees from 9 to 6 on Sundays and holidays. This would be a reduction in meter revenue maximally of about $1,800. I would say that we cost double that in the loss of goodwill by charging people on Christmas. However, the police chief was on it and reversed all of those tickets, and the Facebook post saying that he took responsibility for it, saying it was his fault. It wasn't his fault. It's my responsibility at the end of the day, but probably got more thank yous and comments than any other post that the police department's done. So I think we bought that goodwill back. But nonetheless, if you...
But you didn't read the Instagram posts.
No, I got the voicemails, and there was definitely people unhappy nonetheless. But at the end of the day, I think this is something that we need to do just to provide clarity so the police department can do the right thing, and the folks that are out here visiting our city or live here don't have to interpret what a holiday is. That's what the resolution would hold, and I'd appreciate you approving it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody who wants to comment on this item in the room? Greg, I'm looking at you. If not, is there anybody out there?
If you'd like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand, lower right-hand corner. We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Gary, you look like you have your finger on the button.
Yeah, I do. This is nobody's fault, but really, Chief, I really like the way you handled it. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, we all look bad. It's hard. It's no intention, no ill intention given, and people got very reactive, and, I understand that. But I really like the way you handled it, Chief. I like that you backed off on it and made it what I think people don't realize is a very difficult decision to withdraw those tickets, to cancel those tickets, because you got to deal with your staff. Who may feel like they've done the right thing. It's a much more difficult issue than I think some folks understand. So I really appreciate what you did. I appreciate that you did it quickly, and I really like the piece in the union. And if what we're trying to do is community policing, what you did was an excellent example of cleaning up a tiny little mess, which we're now fixing. But stuff happens, and you fixed it, and you did a good job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for the quick response. I got about 4 texts in like a 2-minute period of very upset people, and you guys responded really, really quickly. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if anybody got a chance to talk to the young woman who works at Java John's, whose day was just kind of ruined.
I did not personally speak to her, and I don't know about that incident, actually. I have no problem speaking to her.
Yeah, it might be good to just drop in and check in, and if people aren't watching this, if particularly younger people, if they're not reading the union, didn't see the article, not following you guys on Facebook, might not necessarily know that we took action and we did so quickly with a lot of integrity. So might be worth it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my question, is how we're communicating this, as part of our communication policy, the dates and just the, I know we have a little social media presence, and that's the police. Are we on social media yet for the city?
We are Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know, the biggest bang for our buck, honestly, on this is going to be the board out front of City Hall and getting the chamber to get the word out, because more people will go and look up what the parking requirements are on the chamber's website, and they have 16,000 more followers on Instagram than the city does. So getting them to, you know,
Sure.
engage that. Well,
Yeah.
it's not
And we're
it's
not
not the
active.
only thing, but it is a
And we're
thing.
not active. is
We're
it?
not
Yeah,
very
yeah,
active.
Yeah,
Absolutely correct.
yeah, okay.
Which is a vibrancy committee action.
Well, I'd love to hear what you guys come up with, because, and I know you will come up with something good on that, because that's, we're just missing the boat on that.
I agree.
Anybody else? Lou?
Yeah, I just want some clarification. There's a difference between the discussion of the issue and the wording of the resolution itself. For example, in the resolution itself, it says, item M, Christmas Day, but in the discussion, it's Christmas Day actual and observed. And I wanted to make sure that that "and observed" was in the resolution as well as in the discussion.
It is in the resolution.
Yeah,
It
Can
needs
we
to be
make
in the
that
re-
distinction?
It needs to be in the resolution.
it is in the resolution, so.
Now, are you looking at a different resolution than I am? I'm on page 115
It's,
of the packet.
yeah. it's
Item
in there.
1M says Christmas Day.
Oh, the others say observe the day. That's-
Well, all of them are going to be as observed.
Okay,
Does it need to be edited or amended?
We've heard direction, and
Yeah.
the motion can just say approve the resolution with the requested modifications.
that was
We
all I-
change the language, it's fine, yep.
that would be all I would want to know. And the fact that A and N are the same is because it's the beginning of the year and the beginning of the next year?
You're talking about not in the resolution, but in the staff report itself?
In the staff report itself, it makes it clear that it's 2 different years, but the resolution doesn't. It just says New Year's Day, and then again, item N says New Year's Day, so that was my quibble.
I see what you're saying. Yes, all the same.
Great, that's all I needed to know.
Thank you.
To the vice mayor's point, I take the note. Thank you for, thank you for that.
I've just got questions about the future of parking in this town, and at some point, the idea of newer parking meters that people could use credit cards or their phones with. You're nodding. But also,
Gary's all over it.
the electronic ones, I assume those would also be able to have something on the screen that says, you don't need to pay for parking today, because today's a holiday, which would save us the problem, too.
Oh, there you go.
So little story, I'm, Christmas, Grandpa's pushing the stroller,
Oh, my
you know,
goodness.
which is, that's so cool. So while mother, grandmother and daughter are shopping in the store, and I'm standing outside keeping the stroller moving, because I don't know these things, but you keep it moving so they stay asleep. So I'm doing that, and this car pulls up. It's a little tiny Toyota with 5 people in it. In fact, when they opened the trunk to get their stuff, I asked if they had another person in there. But what they did was, they're sitting there looking, they're going, this meter takes coins. When was the last time you saw a meter that took coins? What do we do? I said, well, the chamber will make change for you. It's like, where's that? Well, you go down over here. So, yes, we're on it.
You're on. I figured.
But it was one of those experiences, like, people were flabbergasted that,
Like having a payphone,
that
right?
it took coins. Yeah.
Nickels, dimes, and quarters.
I love it.
It's historical, and then there's
All I can ever
historical.
find is a damn penny.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're historically appropriate parking meters.
Okay, if there's,
I move we adopt the resolution, quite frankly.
thank you.
Second that.
Thank you.
Can I get a roll call?
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Fleming?
Yep. Okay, we're going to go to city manager's report and then council member reports. Future agenda.
So I've talked quite a bit tonight, but I did want to make one comment. Mr. Stephen Erlinson is here with us this week. He's our new interim assistant city manager. Be with us through the remainder of the fiscal year. Steve and I go a little while back, not way, way back, but I've worked for him, he's worked for me, and in different roles. He is really here to be a force multiplier or give us some capacity. All the things you heard tonight and talked about tonight will take more work capacity than our current staff has to advance. And so the way we're going to flush that out is Steve is going to help us by helping us with processes, things that are reproducible, so that when something comes up, we can give it to him, so to speak, and he can create something that staff can then just implement. His background is largely in finance, fraud auditor. He's definitely digging into our financial situation, make sure there's no bodies buried that we're not aware of, and so. But it's always better to know, believe me.
It's always better to know.
So I'd rather find out and report it back to you than have you find out from a grand jury or from, he's been here, since Monday this week and already helping out with a number of things, some legacy, everything from tax issues from 2020 to things that came up yesterday. So he will be largely working remotely during his time with us, but will be up here intermittently. And his big lift relative to what you all talked about tonight will be that creating of the CIP framework and helping us get there with it, as well as articulating a funding stream for that $6 million of grant. 5.8 million of it we will have to cash flow in the replacement of the Nevada Street Bridge. That is just $100,000 less than our annual budget. So it's not like we can just look in our pockets to make that happen. So fortunately for Steve, that is a very, it's not a heavy lift. For me, it would be a very heavy lift. So with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'd love to have Steve come up and just say hi, and you're welcome to.
Please do, Steve, come on up. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Don't throw darts, but ask him anything you like.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm not going to reiterate anything Sean said. What I would like to say is the staff that I have interfaced with is phenomenal, to say the least, and working very hard for you. And I am beyond impressed. Also, I would like to say that I'm staying at the National Exchange Hotel. And so I'm walking here, to and from a few times a day. And I'd like to compliment your community and your representation of that. Walking down the street, and I live in Southern Orange County, Southern California, Orange County, and this never happens, so this is a compliment. Your citizens, your residents, say hi to me walking down the street.
Yeah.
And I'm frequenting your businesses here in town as well. Everybody is so kind, so nice, and what a breath of fresh air. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here with your community and with your staff. And I'll entertain any questions you may have, but those are my comments for this evening. And I thank you.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to working with you.
Yeah, well, thank you for the wonderful comments and your observations on our community. I think we all would agree with you. You can tell if somebody's not from here if you say hello to them and they don't say hello back. Oh, you're from out of town, So, and if you're at a four-way stop ever driving, it might take a half an hour. Oh, no, you go. No, you go. No, you go.
Unless it's a big pickup truck.
And then with a.
Or they don't stop at all.
Yeah, or they don't stop, that's true. So, welcome, if anybody would like to talk to Steve and ask him any questions or give him a warm welcome hello, now is the time.
Steve, just so you know, there is an underbelly. We'll talk later. I'll see you at the bar at the National.
Okay.
Welcome, Steve. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Great to have you. We need the capacity.
We do.
You can see the work that we're doing. It's great to have you here. Look forward to working with you on a CIP.
Yeah, Yeah, Sean can't do everything. He's trying, but he can't do everything. So I'm glad that he has some air support and the rest of the staff do as well. Yeah, thank you. Lou?
Welcome, and if you're okay with Sean, you're okay with me.
Good, Steve. Okay, that's your report.
That was my report.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll all get a chance to work with you and talk with you, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. We want to go around, we'll just start with Adam.
We've got the Fire Safety Advisory Committee meeting on the 19th, Vibrancy on the 2nd, Groundhog Day. Could just keep going on and on and on that meeting.
It won't.
And it won't. And I'm working to get a day together, a Saturday next month for green waste pickup at the Root Center parking lot. We will make that announcement once we've got that settled, but where, anyone living in the city could bring whatever fuels have fallen from the sky during the past storm.
Is this just strictly green waste, nothing else?
Yeah.
Like they did the other time, just green waste?
Yeah,
Okay.
but free of charge, come drop it off, and Waste Management will take it away. But yeah, I'll announce that when I've got it. But nice to be back as well. Hi, everybody. Lou, Daniela, Gary, thanks for holding down the fort in December. The meetings go very fast when there's only 3 of us here. I don't know why that is. Yes, I do.
I blame myself.
It depends on which 3.
I suppose it does.
I don't have much to say other than, again, just the storm response the other day was really great. Well done. And Happy New Year, and boy, we've got a big one ahead of us.
Yeah, Daniela.
Yeah, looking forward to the Vibrancy Committee meeting on February 2nd. We're going to be looking predominantly at the public art process. Adam and I curated a list of local artists and stakeholders to invite, and community members to invite to that process. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the Housing Committee meeting Monday the 23rd with you, Doug. We also curated a list of invitees for anybody watching that wants to join, anybody here that wants to join. They are open meetings. Yeah, just excited to be working in the new year. And there was something. Oh, I wanted to say how exciting that Nevada City has a small influx of new residents coming into town. The 51 units at Cashin's Field on Zion Street, folks started moving in last week. We got to tour the facility before they moved in. It is stunning. The community room, the space for community gardens. It's a beautiful space, and I'm really excited for folks to populate that and for it to be truly affordable housing in Nevada City. And if anybody has questions about what makes it affordable, I'd be happy to talk to you about that now that I understand it a little bit better. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, and just welcome to those folks. How exciting that we have, it's potentially 100+ new community members. We got some interesting facts on that day. The property management company told us that at least 60% of new residents are from the 95959 area code from Nevada City. Of course, that's outside, that's Nevada City, the broader Nevada City. Still thought that was exciting. And then another at least 25% are from Grass Valley, Penn Valley, Rough and Ready area. So truly, truly local folks
Nice.
Settling into our community. Exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniela. Lou?
Just 2 things. One is you are probably well aware of how I feel about Cashin's Field, but there was a moment of change of heart for me. When I drove by yesterday evening and saw lights on in the apartments, and I really felt a warm feeling. I thought, good, those people are warm and safe and dry. And so thank you to the previous council for getting that into motion. There is going to be a code red practiced, I think, on February 1st that people need to be aware of. And I think if you bring that up at the Fire Safety Advisory Committee meeting, that'll be fine. And Adam will be chairing that meeting because I will be in Sacramento learning stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're gonna be there. Thank you, everybody, and this is really nice to have. I feel connected to all of you and your committees and everything that we're doing, and so I think that's just really, we have to know what's going on in our city. So, you know, all the committees are sort of been covered. I just want to talk about the tech center, you know, that's one of, you know, again, I've always just, I can't believe that place sits there, that's in our jurisdiction, it's foul. So, all right, so there are 14 new businesses going in there so far. The owner, Chris Anderson, is doing a, what?
14?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's doing a co-warehousing concept. So if you have a home business or a smaller place, you can rent month to month there. He's got all kinds of things from, you know, testing labs to a recording studio to 2 dance theaters, a ballet studio and then a modern dance, 2 different dance places, an auditorium. There are also 40 classic cars over there, which you have to see. Adam and I went on a little tour over there yesterday, but I encourage you guys all to go over there, anybody from the community. That place is going to be a really vibrant and, you know, important place, I think. Another city center, you know, I'm hoping it's included in the boundaries of Seven Hills, but I think at some point, you know, it might be able to be its own, you know, city center. There's a grant I sent to this guy. There's a grant actually for private developers for affordable housing, with transit stuff in there. It's called Sustainable Communities Infrastructure, but it's like millions of dollars. But it would pay for, and this is, I'm just throwing this out there, converting commercial spaces into residential, like artist lofts, live-work kind of concept down there. You know, there's just so much potential down there. We also have the Grove project, which, you know, I'm going to talk to Sean a little bit more about what we can do to proactively market that, because that's something that it's on the books, it's ready to go, it's been approved, it's been environmentally, you know, hasn't it? It's got everything, right?
Ready to go.
Yeah, so we have to help, you know, Robert Upton, you know, market that thing a little bit more effectively so we can get some traction on it. You know, I've talked to a couple of finance companies, or I guess they're just funds. You know, a guy has $1.5 billion, and, you know, it's a family fund, and they invest in small communities like ours, and so they're investing in some of the tech center out there, and I talked to them about possibly doing some small housing stuff, and so we can have that conversation. But we need to broaden that conversation, but I encourage you all to go down there, and if anybody wants to, you know, needs to, you know, go over, I'd be glad to take you or connect you with Chris, and he could give you a tour over there. It's pretty, the cars are impressive in and of itself. I mean, there's a Hellcat over, there's a Ferrari, there are these weird little cars, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So, and it's in our city, and that place is going to be popping at some point. So I just encourage everybody to go over there, and, you know, and once the restaurant and bar is open.
I was going to say, are they making headway on that?
They are. You know, they wanted to do some events in October, and that hasn't happened. But, you know, I'm lighting a fire because I want to see something over there, and, you know, I think we need something sooner than later. They're talking about doing some, you know, food truck events in the parking lot and just sort of music and things like that, just to drive some energy over there. But that's it for me. I think that is about it, unless anybody, oh, Lou,
I did
go.
have a follow-up. About 6 months ago, we told the people who were developing Gracie Commons that they should get back to us within 6 months about what progress they've made. Should we tickle them again?
Well, these guys came in a few months ago to talk about the car thing. We approved that, you remember? That was 2 months ago?
Yes.
Yeah, so they, you know, Chris, you know, so just to tell you the history there, they were going to do cannabis out there, and so we had approved cannabis.
Yeah, I think we're talking about 2 different things.
Yeah,
Oh, you're talking
he's
about-
talking about something else.
You're talking about Gracie Commons.
Yes.
You're saying that we should give the same incentive to these guys to say, come and report to
No,
us.
he's asking about Gracie.
Oh,
This is
duh.
a follow-up of something we did 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I think we're scheduled to
I think he
touch
said
back with them the
tickle
end of
instead
February.
Chris, so.
Tickle, yeah, a little slap and tickle.
That's what he said.
All right, I'm looking for a motion on this. This is descending into madness. Yeah. I really,
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, aye. Great meeting, folks, I really appreciate it. Good to see you all. Thank you, Dean, thank you, Gabby, thank
We're
you,
adjourned.
Sean.